Welcome to Torah Champs. We're going to learn together units 5 to 16 in the Yahadus book. I hope you're going to join me for the whole ride. You've already learned the first 4 units, the foundation of all mitzvot, emunat Hashem, believing in Hashem, loving Hashem, yirat Hashem, fearing Hashem, the oneness of Hashem. And now that we have the foundation, the emunah in Hashem, we can then move into the next mitzvot of how do we connect to Hashem and how do we connect to other human beings because of our love of Hashem. And make sure to learn it in the Yahadus book. Go on the quizzes on the website. Go on Quizlet. Everything that's here is also on Quizlet. Review it, learn it, and increase your knowledge of the mitzvah. The first mitzvah that we're learning today is Unit 5. Shelo la'abed dvarim shenikra shmo alehem. Do not destroy something that represents Hashem. This applies to all people, all places, all times, and because it's a mitzvah lo taseh, and there's an action that you're doing by erasing Hashem's name or destroying something in the Beit HaMikdash or in a shul, the punishment is malkut, which is, as you can see in the picture, there's a whip over there. So the way this affair could be done in 2 ways. One, by erasing one of Hashem's name, and the second way is by destroying a shul or a place that Hashem's name is on. So those are the 2 ways. Now, what does erasing Hashem's name mean? What are you not allowed to erase? So there's 7 names that are not allowed to be erased, and they're listed here: Elokah or Elokim, anything of that sort. Kel, Adnai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Tzvakot, Shakai, Shin Daled Yud, Elokim. And some opinions include the name Aleph Hey Yud Hey. So these are names that are not allowed to be erased, and if you erase the name, you are chayav malkot. You get punished. There's a punishment in the times that there was Sanhedrin. Now, what of the names you're not allowed to erase? Only the letters written after the names of Hashem. So you're not allowed to, of course, you're not allowed to erase the name. So if the name is Elokah, you're not allowed to erase that. You're also not allowed to erase the chaf after because it's following the name of Hashem. However, you're allowed to erase the letters before Hashem's name. So if it says La Hashem, the Lamed, you're allowed to erase. Even 2 letters which make up Hashem's name, so like Yud Kei, because that's the complete name of Hashem, or Kel, that's also not allowed to be erased. So in Unit 6, you're going to learn about Emunat Nevi'im, believing in the prophets. There are 2 mitzvot, a mitzvot aseh and a mitzvot lo taseh. So the first one is Lishmoa min hanavi hamedaber bishmo. You have to listen to the Navi. You have to follow the instructions of a Navi who speaks in the name of Hashem. So we're going to explain what a Navi is and how do you know if somebody's a true Navi. But this mitzvah is for all places, all people, and all times. So let's move to the details. Now there's a lo taseh, which then is once you know somebody is a true Navi, you don't keep testing him, you don't keep asking questions, you don't have to test or doubt a Navi. And that's for all people, all places, all times. The punishment for not following this mitzvah is mita b'dei shamayim, that Hashem will punish you. Beit Din does not punish you. So it's a punishment that comes from heaven. So again, there's a mitzvah lo taseh and a mitzvah aseh. Let's move on to the details. How do we know if a person's a true Navi? So the person has to be pretty special. He knows the secrets of the Torah. He can control his Yetzer Hara, meaning he's not impulsive. He's not just doing random things because he wants to do them, but he thinks about what he does. He's not involved with regular activities. And he has perfect midot. He's a good person. That's the first step. The second, he performs a miracle. Or he predicts the future more than once, and all his positive predictions come true. So we see that he obviously is talking to Hashem because he knows what's going to happen next. And another way to become a Navi is a person who we already know as a true Navi confirms and tells you this man is a true Navi. So we have somebody who's been completely confirmed, tells us somebody else is good, we know that he's a true Navi. And once we know somebody's a true Navi, you have to listen to him. Okay, so now we are moving into the mitzvot that are more bin adam lechavero. How to treat your friend, how to treat your neighbors. But we start in Unit 7 with the mitzvot of going in Hashem's ways, halicha b'drachav, to try to be like Hashem. We have a commandment from Hashem to copy the good and fair ways of Hashem. So how do you do that? So again, this mitzvah is for all people, all places, all times. It's a mitzvah aseh. So what are the midot of Hashem? The first one is Hashem is rachum. Hashem is merciful. The second one is Chanun, he's generous. Erech Apayim, slow to anger, does not get angry quickly. And Rav Chesed, he gives extra kindness. So let's explain what these 4 midot are and how we can emulate them and copy them to be more like Hashem. Okay, so how do we act like Hashem? The first one is to be merciful, to have rachmanut, to be a rachum. You see, if somebody does something bad, we're upset at them, they say sorry, and we forgive them. Then they do it a second time. So now we're not sure if we want to forgive them. They do it a third time. Well, Hashem is rachum. He accepts our tshuva even if you've sinned many, many, many times against Hashem. When you come back, if you're sincere, if it's real, Hashem accepts our tshuva because Hashem is a rachum. He has mercy on us. So we have to have mercy towards our friends, towards the people around us, to be more like Hashem. The next one is to be chanun, to be generous. Hashem gives us so many things, even though we don't deserve it. And the same thing is with how we treat the people around us. Even if our friends or the people around us don't deserve our kindness, we should still be kind to them. The next one is erech apayim, slow to anger. The people of Nineveh were evil. They were wicked. And Hashem could have destroyed them right away. But Hashem said, no, let me give them a chance to do tshuva. Let me slow it down. And ultimately the people did tshuva. And we try to be like Hashem also, not to get upset at other people right away. Just give them time to work it out. The next one is Rav Chesed, extra kindness. So if we have mitzvot and we have averot and it's equal, Hashem will always give us the benefit of the doubt, and tip the scale to the side of kindness. And that's how we should treat other people. Try to find the good and focus less on the bad. So we have the 4 midot to be like Hashem, and if we adapt these midot and we start to behave in the way that Hashem, that we learn from Hashem, it will be a lot easier to keep the following units, the following mitzvot. So now we want to connect to Talmidei Chachamim. As it says, Et Hashem Elokecha Tira, you should fear Hashem, Oto Tavot, Ubo Tidbak. You should cling to him, you should attach yourself to him. But how do we attach to Hashem? Hashem, do we see him? We don't. Hashem's everywhere, but we don't see him. So the Chazal teach us that you connect to Hashem by connecting to Talmidei Chachamim, the people who learn Hashem's Torah. This mitzvah is for all people, all places, all times. So how can you connect to them? So what does that mean? What should you do? So the first one is to serve them. If they need something to drink or something to eat, you bring them food. Eating and drinking with them. So having meals with them, spending time with them. The next one is doing business with them. If you have an opportunity to work with, to do a business deal with a Talmid Chacham, choose to do it with the Talmid Chacham. And the next one is to learn Torah with them. So these are ways to connect to the Talmid Chacham, and that's how we connect to Hashem. So let's move on to the mitzvah, Unit 9, which we all know as the Rebbe Kiva says, Ezeklal Gadol Batorah. Hillel told the ger who came to him on one foot and said, teach me the whole Torah. And he told him, don't do unto others, we don't want done unto yourself. So it's the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love every Jew the same way you love yourself. Now, you can do this mitzvah all the time, in all places, and for all people. So how do you do Avat Yisrael? How do you love your fellow? What are some examples of doing this mitzvah? So we're going to start with the first one, and that is when you do hachnasat orchim. You invite a friend to your house. You welcome in guests. You give somebody who doesn't have a place to stay with you. That's Avat Yisrael. Achnasat orchim, you're being Mekayim, the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael. The next one is Achnasat Kala. When a Chatan and Kala get married and you make them happy, you're doing the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael. Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick. And Hotzat Hametz is helping someone, even after somebody dies, you can continue to do the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael by helping them be buried, whether it's paying for their burial or going to a funeral to show respect to that person. That is included in the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael. And Nicham Avelim, comforting mourners when people are sad, giving them comfort. You're fulfilling the mitzvah of Avat Yisrael. Now, in addition to loving every single Jew, and by extension every human being, because our hearts will be filled with love, there's a special mitzvah to love a ger. So love somebody who converted to Judaism, somebody who's a stranger, didn't grow up with everyone else. So you have a special mitzvah for all people, all places, all times, to love a ger. And we have to remember that we were ger in Mitzrayim. We weren't always. We were also strangers. So how do you do that? How do you fulfill this mitzvah? The first one is not reminding a ger of his or her sins of the past. So not telling him, oh, yeah, you think you're such a good Jew. Do you remember? And the same thing would apply to not to remind the children of the ger about the sins of their parents. The next one is not making fun of them by saying, oh, you're not one of us. You're like, ugh. That's included in the mitzvah. And the third one is not speaking badly about non-Jews in front of a ger, because it might make the ger feel bad. So to be really sensitive and caring towards the ger's experience. So this is when you have Avat ger, you're automatically also doing Avat Yisrael. So it's a 2-for-1. So to be really careful. The next one is Shalo Lisno Achim, not to hate your brother, even in your hearts. Wow, that's tough. So this is included in the unit of tochacha, of rebuking, of how to tell somebody that you're upset with them, that they're doing something wrong. So we have to start with knowing that you're not allowed to hate people. Even in your heart. There's no punishment because it's a lav shem b'maisa. It's just in your heart. You're not doing anything. But even having that hatred inside, and you're not planning on fighting, you're not planning on doing anything, but keeping that hatred towards another person is you're being over in a mitzvah lo taseh. Now, what should you do? You're upset at the person. So you should, if you feel that the person is doing something bad, it's very important to rebuke them and tell them that they've hurt you or they've upset you. Or if they're not following the Torah mitzvah and you're upset about it, you should express it to them. However, be careful. Be very, very, very careful. You can't just rebuke people because you like telling people that they're bad. You have to be very sensitive. Very, very sensitive to their feelings. So the first thing is, you cannot rebuke somebody if you're a hypocrite. You can't tell them that what they're doing is bad if you do the same exact thing yourself. So, because how would you expect the person to accept your rebuke if you're doing the same thing yourself? The next one is, it cannot come out of anger. It has to be done in a calm voice, privately, not to embarrass the person. You also have to make sure the person knows that you're only pointing it out to help them and not to be mean. If your goal is to hurt the person and make the person feel bad, then don't go and rebuke. You also have to be so sensitive. People don't like being told that they're wrong. So be really, really careful how you do it. Now, don't just say that there's something wrong and you're upset at them for doing something. It's important to be specific, because if you don't tell them what it is, they don't know what it is, and they'll have a hard time fixing it. Now, what if the person gets angry? You started rebuking, you thought that you planned it, you were calm, you were gentle, and then they started ignoring you. You should stop. Don't just keep pushing. Don't push, because there's no point. We do not want to hurt people's feelings. Now, if the person will be embarrassed, the person did an avera, and they'd be really embarrassed. And the person's feelings will be really hurt. You should not say anything to the person if you know that it will cause it will hurt the other person's feelings, because we know how Malvin Pnei Chaver Barabin, you're not allowed to embarrass another Jew. So you have to do everything you can. If you want to fulfill this mitzvah, you have to make sure it's done in a nice way, in a calm way. And in many cases, it's a very, very difficult mitzvah to keep, and we're better off. Sometimes you're better off not telling the person if you know that the person won't listen. Now, what if your teacher did something wrong and you think they did an avera? How do you rebuke your teacher? So you have to be extremely respectful, especially since we learned the importance of giving kavod to Talmidei Chachamim, but to any person who you have to respect, your parents, your teacher. You can tell them, you can start with, didn't you teach us that we're not allowed to do this? Without pointing a finger and saying, hey, you did something bad, because you want to give the teacher an opportunity to explain what they did, and you want to do it in a respectful way. Okay, so we already learned the importance of loving your fellow Jew, loving a ger, a convert, and now we're going to move into being extra sensitive and careful to an orphan, an almana, and a widow, somebody who's lost a parent, who's lost a husband, to be really, really sensitive. This is for all people, all places, all times. There's no punishment, but it's an extremely important mitzvah. So now, what is included in the mitzvah of being kind to a yatom v'almana? So he has to treat them with extreme sensitivity, speaking gently to them, never tease them, not make them do hard work, not hit them. Make sure they have everything they need. Just to be really kind to somebody who's gone through so much by losing a parent or losing a husband. Now, this even applies to a rich orphan. So you're going to say, oh, he's a millionaire. He doesn't need me to be nice to him. No, even somebody who has everything in the world still have to be very kind and sensitive to the orphan. Now, once the widow gets married, or the orphan grows up and can take care of himself, this mitzvah doesn't apply to them. But of course, you still have to be nice because of Avat Yisrael, and because you have to be nice. Okay, now we're moving into an extremely important unit, Unit 13, Lashon Hara, not spreading Lashon Hara, not speaking badly about another person, not speaking about other people. Now, it's a very difficult mitzvah to keep. It's because people are always talking, and people get pleasure from talking about other people. But you have to be really, really careful, because you never know how you're hurting another person by talking about them. So you have to be really, really sensitive and learn the halachot of Lashon Hara so you can know when it's appropriate to talk about somebody, when it's not. So the mitzvah is shelo leragel, not spreading Lashon Hara. As it says in the Torah, lo telach rachil ba'amecha. Do not say or write anything bad about anyone. So you can do Lashon Hara by writing. You can do it by typing it into an email, by putting it on Facebook, on Twitter, on the internet. Lashon Hara is spreading bad information, or spreading information that might lead to something bad, in any form. This is for all people, all places, all times. There's no punishments. So there's three ways to be over the Aver of Lashon Hara. There's Rechilutz, Lashon Hara, Moti Shemra. They're all a little different, and I'll try to explain it. First one is Rechilutz. What is Rechilutz? That's when you repeat to your friend something someone else said about your friend. Even if it's true, even if it's not really bad. But telling people things that you're not even sure about. You just heard it from someone else. So that's Rechilutz. You're passing information on that you don't know whether it's true or not. Even if it is true, and even if it's not really bad, but just spreading information about other people. The next one is Lashon Hara. And that's, as you see in the word Ra, you're using your tongue to be mean, to say something hurtful about somebody else. Even if you're saying something good, but it makes the other person look bad as a result, that's considered Lashon Hara. The next one is Motzi Shemra, and that's not saying something bad that's true, but saying an absolute lie about someone else. And that's like the most severe form. So Lashon Hara could be you're saying the truth. You're saying the person has a dirty shirt and smells. And if that's true, it's still Lashon Hara. You're not allowed to say that. Motzi Shemra is you saying something that's not even true. So it's a complete lie, and that you're not allowed to do that. Now, there's the Chachamim add some things that are not part of Lashon Hara, but they're called Avak Lashon Hara, which means the dust of Lashon Hara. And it's still forbidden. So it's not like you're actually said something bad about somebody, but it kind of leads people to think and understand bad things about someone else. So when you say that you know something bad, another person, but you didn't say what it is, you just say, I know something bad. Saying something nice to get someone else to say something mean, that's included in Avak Lashon Hara, making a joke about someone, even if you're not trying to hurt them. Now, there are times that you're allowed to speak Lashon Hara, say something that's true, that's negative about someone else. If, like an employer, if somebody's looking for a job and the boss needs to know whether this person is the right person for the job, you're allowed to be honest and say whatever's necessary for the boss to know related to the job. So you can't start adding things that are not important. But if there's something that's relative to the job, you're allowed to say because the person needs to hire somebody who's appropriate. So now we're moving into some details in how we treat other people with respect. And this one is shelo linkom, not taking revenge. So even if they did something wrong to you, somebody was mean to you, somebody came to you and said, I want to borrow your bike. And the person said, and somebody said, I want to borrow your bike. And the guy said, no, I'm not lending you my bike. The next day he comes to your house and says, can I borrow your bike? So Nakama would be, do you tell the person, no, I'm not going to lend you my bike. You didn't lend me yours. I'm taking revenge. Nakama, shelo linkom, that's an avera. It's very difficult because we might be upset, but we have to overcome that feeling and not take revenge against another person. Now, not only you can't take revenge, you can't even hold a grudge, which means to keep feeling bad and angry and upset about the other person. So the difference between shelo linkom and shelo lintar is as follows. We already explained a kama is when the guy wants to borrow your bike and you say no because you didn't give me your bike when I wanted to borrow it. That's the kama. So what's natira? Shelo lintar. Shelo lintar means that the guy comes to you and asks you for your bike and you say, yes, I'm going to give you my bike because I'm not like you. You, on the other hand, don't loan me my bike, but I'm a nice guy. So telling that person that is included in the avera of not doing natira, not holding a grudge. We move into the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, learning Torah, as it said. We say in Shema, "V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam," and that's mitzvah all places, all time. The men are commanded; women still get schar if they do it. So let me explain the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Who has to learn? Every man, whether rich or poor, simple or wise. It's a mitzvah for everybody to learn Torah. And there's no excuses. Hillel was very poor, and he still learned Torah. Now, who are we obligated to teach Torah to? So a father has to teach his son Torah. That's included in the mitzvah of Shnat L'Vanecha. After a father teaches his son, he should teach his grandson or great-grandson. If a man can't teach his son Torah, he can pay someone to learn Torah. That's why there are schools. A man has a mitzvah to teach anyone he possibly can. And if somebody knows Torah and is able to teach Torah, whenever they teach Torah to someone else, they're fulfilling the mitzvah of Vishnat L'Vanecha, of learning Torah. Now, how should you learn Torah? So it says you should split your learning into 3 parts. You should learn Tanakh, Mishnah, and Gemara. V'agita bo yomam v'layla. It's a mitzvah for all times, all the time, whenever you can, day or night. However, the minimum should be Perek Echad Shachrit, Perek Echad Arvit, a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. We should also constantly review. It's not enough just to learn once, but learning it again and again and again until you're able to remember the Torah. There's 3 bracha that you say. There's bracha that you say before learning the Torah. So it's very important to say those bracha, to realize that the Torah is a great gift to us from Hashem, and thanking Hashem for the Torah. The last mitzvah, unit 16, is the mitzvah of kavod chachamim, and that is to respect Talmidei Chachamim, as it says, mipnei seva takum v'adarta pnei zaken. You stand up before the elderly and give respect to the old. So the Rambam learns that this is the mitzvah of respecting Talmidei Chachamim. It also applies to respecting older people. So people who are in their old age, to get up for them on the bus, to show them kavod. We are completing units 1 to 16. We're skipping the Hilchot Avodah Zarah. So after we finish this quiz, this test, we're then going to move on to Sefer Ava, the mitzvah that we do out of love Hashem, our love for Hashem. But we just finished quite a few mitzvot on how to treat others with respect. And if we have love in our heart for Hashem, our heart will be filled with love, and we'll love every human being. We'll also we'll love every Jew, every non-Jew, everybody around us. So may we be zochet to fulfill these mitzvot with Ava, and have a great night. Bye-bye.